All right, time now for our In Focus segment. Hong Kong remains on edge. Right, joining me are two guests, Ambassador Skand Thayil and Professor Harshvardhan Pant. Ambassador Thayil joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1976. He served at Indian missions in Sofia, Warsaw, Geneva and Moscow. He was India's Consul General in Johannesburg and Houston, and ambassador to Uzbekistan and South Korea. And Professor Pant is Director Studies and Head of the Strategic Studies Program at the Observer Research Foundation, a New Delhi-based think tank. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on NewsNet. Appreciate it. Let me come to you first, Ambassador Thayil. Now, that report we just showed would have given our viewers a fair idea, a fair sense of what is happening in Hong Kong and why, but also help our viewers understand why is Xi Jinping wanting to control Hong Kong now in particular, and what does that tell you about Xi Jinping, the man, and his politics?
The way President Xi Jinping's China is functioning, they are now baring their teeth. Earlier, there was an expectation all over the world that there can be a peaceful rise of China, and the whole world was ready to accommodate. But now the way China has been functioning all over its periphery, whether it is South China Sea, whether it is the North border, Taiwan and Hong Kong also, they just do not want to brook any kind of dissent in any part of China, because Hong Kong ultimately is part of China. But there is an issue here the world has to watch, that there was after all an agreement, and China had that agreement with United Kingdom that for 50 years, that means up to 2047, whatever freedoms, whatever is the judicial system, whatever is the legislative system in Hong Kong will continue. And now China has breached that understanding, that agreement. So that is a very worrying factor, that China, which is a major power in the world, its word cannot be trusted, its signed agreements cannot be trusted. I think for India and for the rest of the world, that is the bigger story. Of course, for the people of Hong Kong, their much cherished freedoms of expression, freedom of agitation, freedom of, the democratic freedoms that the people have are being crushed. And this already, new law was passed yesterday, adopted today, and 370 people, 370 persons have already been arrested today in Hong Kong under these new laws. And these new laws, the entire judicial system in Hong Kong, which was there earlier, which was fair and just and open, will be now changed, because these people will be tried in closed courts. There will be no jury, and the judge will be appointed by the administrator of Hong Kong, who is a lady appointed by the Chinese government. So the entire political process in Hong Kong has come under the scanner of Chinese government, Chinese party, and the freedoms of our people of Hong Kong will be severely curtailed.
Absolutely.
And for the world, the major issue is that an agreement signed by China with UK in 1985 has been breached.
All right. I want to take that same question across to Professor Pant. Professor Pant, help our viewers understand the timing for enacting this new security law, which overrides and supersedes the domestic law, and Chinese security will prevail over Hong Kong for the foreseeable future. So what do you make of the timing? And also, as Ambassador Thayil mentioned, China's so-called peaceful rise. It's a thing of the past, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I think no one buys the peaceful rise argument anymore. And I think, as we have seen over the last few months, in fact, China is busy making enemies out of countries that otherwise would have, accepted China's rise as a power in the international system. Powers rise and fall. That's the nature of international politics. But for China to present itself as a country that is now going to shred to pieces every single agreement that it has signed with every country. Now look at, we are talking in the context of Hong Kong, the basic declaration, joint declaration with Britain that it has signed in 1997, which argues for one country, two systems model, that is now being shred to pieces. But also look around, South China Sea. It is unwilling to abide by laws of the sea. It is unwilling to abide by UNCLOS. With India, what has happened in the recent months, in recent weeks, is an indication that it has, violated every single tenet of India's, every single agreement it has signed with India since 1998. Since 1988. So clearly, I think China is too busy in projecting itself as a power that is willing to now shape the global order in its own image. It believes that it is no longer a rising power, it has arrived. It believes that because of that arrival, it can shape its own periphery, it can shape the regional order in its own image. And I think for Hong Kongers, this is a moment of Xi Jinping's revenge. Last year, when they had enacted or tried to enact an extradition law, the Hong Kongers used their democracy, their dissent. They were out on the streets and they made sure that that act was withdrawn. Now, finally, Xi Jinping has had his revenge by bringing in a national security law that is so harmful, not only for Hong Kongers, but I think to the larger basic value of democracy and dissent, which Hong Kongers pride themselves on. This is a unit that had been incredibly autonomous, incredibly democratic compared to what is there in mainland China, and has tried to preserve that. Now, China under Xi wants to make Hong Kong more like its own mainland,
right,
more like mainland, and therefore I think the question for Hong Kongers and for the rest of the world is whether the rest of the world can stand up to these Chinese shenanigans and project a united stand so that we don't continue to fall into one crisis after another and don't give China and the Chinese Communist Party space to continue to violate agreements and continue to shape the regional order in its own image.
Indeed. Ambassador Thayil, you've served in the Indian Foreign Ministry. Now, let's talk a bit, if you will, about India's response to these developments of the last several hours. The Indian ambassador to the UN in Geneva has made remarks at the UN meeting there, and he says India is keeping a close watch on the developments there. Also, because there are at least around 40,000 Indian nationals living in Hong Kong as we speak, a sizable community, and also that India wants, quote, properly, seriously, and objectively to address the concerns there. Your thoughts on what India made of the developments there?
I think India's intervention by our Ambassador Rajiv Chandar in UN Human Rights Council in Geneva is very, very important.
Right.
As a matter of principle, we normally avoid commenting about issues which are internal in many ways to different countries. But whatever China has been doing as far on Ladakh, and particularly after Galwan Valley, when our External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, spoke to Wang Yi, the Foreign Minister of China, he very clearly said that whatever has happened will have serious impact of bilateral relationship. Also, we have seen that after our 5th August last year's action of changes in the constitution, etc., on Jammu and Kashmir, which is our internal matter, China had tried to raise it again and again in Security Council at the behest of Pakistan.
Right.
So now I think India has taken a very clear position that there will be strict reciprocity in our relations with China, and if they trample on our internal affairs or try to interfere, then yes, Hong Kong is part of China. But after all, and our statement was very well drafted. Our ambassador did not name China, but it said that the concerned relevant parties should address all the issues properly, seriously, and objectively. I think it's a very clear signal to China that please be careful. We are still, our hand of friendship is still extended to you, but if you continue on this path of confrontation and do not come to status quo ante, then our policies will be reviewed, whether it is commerce, whether it is in contracts, whether we have seen in e-commerce, we have seen the 59 apps, and it will be a very difficult situation.
Indeed. That gives me a perfect segue, Ambassador Thayil, into my next question to Professor Pant. Professor Pant, if we take a step back and look at China today, Xinjiang, there's unrest there, Tibet, unrest, Taiwan, up in arms, Hong Kong, protests. Is it a time has come when the world at large should revisit the so-called one China policy or the so-called one country, two systems formula?
I think this is an absolutely important time for the world to start looking at China's domestic vulnerabilities. As far as China is concerned, there is nothing, they don't make a distinction between external and internal. What is happening today in terms of Chinese foreign policy is an externalization of internal problems.
Right.
They are facing numerous internal problems, from lack of economic growth to tensions in Xinjiang, Hong Kong, problems with Taiwan, problems with their own in terms of their economic development, with their Belt and Road Initiative. And Xi Jinping's leadership is under question domestically. There is enough dissent within, and they are trying to project it outside. They are trying to create multiple crises around the periphery to showcase to the world, and especially to the domestic audience, how powerful the Chinese president of today is, and how he can trample upon these problems, and he can emerge as this great victorious leader of China, who can lead China to this great, as a leader of the new century, which is their Chinese dream. So, in a sense, this is all about politics. They will not stop and think about the consequences for domestic population. They will not think about the consequences for their regional partners. It's simply a question of Communist Party's assertion in China. It's a question of Mr. Xi Jinping's assertion, and I think that creates a problem. That when you have a country like China, international community should recognize, and is recognizing, that internal politics has a bearing on their external, in how they project their external foreign policy. And I think that's why this intervention is very important by a group of 27 countries, including
fair point.
In UNHCR.
Absolutely. I'll request both my guests, Professor Pant and Ambassador Thayil, to stay on. I will come back to you momentarily. But let's talk a bit about some other stories on this similar topic. Communication